All right, well, go ahead and get started.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending the 2021 MOHEMA virtual annual meeting. We were hoping that we could be back in person this year, but unfortunately, COVID still exists, and for the safety of everyone, we decided that we would just host this year's meeting again virtually. But obviously, we want to allow you the opportunity to still have the same information about what's going on with MOHEMA as from the board of directors, and then also as far as what things we have in the future coming ahead. So our theme this year is Adventure Awaits, Navigating the Future of HIM. And so we'll go ahead and get started with the presentation. So to start off the meeting, we need to do some housekeeping items first. We are recording this session, and Anne is our moderator, and she's going to mute everyone. And just to make sure that since we're recording this, that we keep background noises and things to a minimum. So the other thing that we're going to do is give you an opportunity. If you have a question, you can ask that in the chat. And so we put the instructions there, and I'll just leave that there for a little bit of time before I get started. But the instructions are, if you will click on your name over in the participant list, you will see a hand that you can raise, and you can click on that icon. So I will pause for a minute, let people, in case we have more people joining, you can go ahead and have that. But if you have any questions, you can always just put it in the chat, and then Anne's going to help do that while I navigate ahead. So, all right, we'll go ahead and get started. So before we start our actual annual business meeting, I want to invite you to the virtual meeting, which is going to be in less than 2 weeks. It starts on Monday, the 19th, and April 19th at 1 p.m. is when it actually kicks off. And we do have a lot of good speakers lined up, great opportunity for CEUs. And the first day is mostly coding focused. And then I put the particulars there. It's basically a refresher of injury codes, antimicrobial resistance and sepsis education, and also an auditing course. On day 2, we have information about virtual workforce, information blocking, adversity, how we've adapted to COVID in our workforce, and then also the HEMA update. And then day 3, we have a motivational speaker session on governance of data. And we're going to talk about our advocacy that we're doing in the state, and then also the future of HIM. So I did put the link for the meeting there. And so if you're not registered and want to register, there's the link in there, or you can go to mohema.org and look under the education and be able to register there as well. So we do have 21 CEU opportunities. 12 of those obviously are live sessions, and then 9 that are pre-recorded. So we do have a well-packed agenda to cover in a very short amount of time, so I'm going to move pretty quickly. This is kind of our agenda here. We have, I want to do introductions of our current board and our future board. That's just what we just voted on. We want to do introductions of our annual meeting committee, introductions to the nominating committee. We want to recognize the volunteers from AHIMA that work throughout the state in different committees. We're going to recognize those recipients of our awards and scholarships that we give every year. And the next item will give you some numbers based on like our social media, finances, our membership numbers. I'm going to talk a little bit about what we've accomplished this past year. And then I'm going to hand it over to Mary Lee Harlan Newberry, who's the president coming in place in July 1st. So we'll go ahead and get started. First off is our current board that exists in place today is President. I'm President Clark Chaffin. Past president is Deanna Peterson. President-elect is Mary Lee Harlan Newberry. First-year delegate is Donna Caldwell Chaffin. Second delegate is Lucy Swagger. Director of Education first year is Tanisha Luckett. Director of Education second year is Susan Foster. Director of Public Relations is Veronica Richardson. And then obviously our central office coordinator doesn't change. That's Ann Allen, who is the moderator of today. So they've worked hard this past year. Proud of them and the commitment we've had. It's been a very different year for all of us. Those working in the field, not only us that work in the field, but also working on this board to serve you in a different capacity than normal. So I want to go ahead and recognize our incoming board, which will take office July 1st. And that will be President Mary Lee Harlan Newberry. I will be past president. President-elect is Veronica Richardson. First-year delegate is Lucy Swagger. Second-year delegate is Donna Caldwell Chaffin. Director of Public Relations is Becky Morton. Director of Professional Development is Vicki Vogelsang. Director of Education first year is Leslie McCain. Director of Education second year is Tanisha Luckett. And then again, Central Office Coordinator is Ann Allen. So we welcome them to their new role, and we'll kick their new process off in June so that they can take office in July. So congratulations to our new board that's coming on, and we look forward to working with you in the next year. So the next group that we need to recognize is our annual meeting committee that actually put the meeting that's forthcoming in the next 2 weeks for us in place in a different situation, because this committee would have been doing it we would have been having our meeting in St. Charles, Missouri. So unfortunately, we're going to be having to have our meeting virtual. So our annual meeting chair this year was Karen Gambin, and I appreciate all the work that she's done putting this meeting together in a different format. And I appreciate the team that she has. And our annual meeting team members are Debbie Heater, Diane Pierce, Rhonda Werdeman, and then the board members that are involved are Susan Foster and Veronica Richardson. Their involvement has been immensely appreciated, as the fact that they're on the board and having to do other jobs in addition to this. So the other thing is our vendor co-chairs, which is weird to think that we're having vendors, but we are having a vendor. A piece of it, even though we're not on face-to-face, is Carrie Compton and Barb Beckett. And then again, we can't forget Ann. She's involved in almost everything we do. Our central office coordinator is heavily involved in the whole process of making sure that we put things in place, the pricing, the registration, everything. She's the go-to. So we appreciate her very much. The next committee that I want to bring up is our nominating committee, and that was chaired by our president-elect, which is Mary Lee Harlan Newberry. And then her team members were Barb Beckett, Jamie Davenport, and Courtney Simmons. And normally we have more people on that committee, but some of those committee members had to kind of bow out because they were invited to be on the ballot. So we don't want to have them pick their own place. So they had to be removed from the committee. So that committee is normally 5 or 6 people. So some of our volunteers that we want to recognize that are actually working in some capacity with AHEMA, even though they're involved in the state of Missouri, we want to recognize their work, because they could be in a capacity where they're working on a different kind of committee or something, and we may not know that the work that they're doing, because it may be something that is related to their job or a different part of the profession that we're not maybe privy to. So, but we want to recognize those people because it does take a lot of time out of your day-to-day job per se to do those things. And so we're very fortunate that the last several years we've had some of the board of directors have been from Missouri. So we had Seth Katz in the previous, and now we have Teresa Eichelman, who's on the board of directors. So we've been very blessed to have representation at AHEMA on the board of directors. So in the advocacy and public council, we have Angelica Jefferson and then Julie Pursley. And then for the practice council for the CDI, we have Tammy Combs and Tanya, I hope I don't say this wrong, Delukach. And so we appreciate them being involved at that level as well. And then for the privacy and security, we have Dana DeMasters and Tol Zakaria. So all those groups of that group of people are involved in some capacity where they're helping write papers or getting information that we need to get for those particular areas of expertise to help us move forward with being a champion in that area. So we appreciate them. And the other thing that we don't want to forget is, although each state has a number of representatives that cross over and we network together and work together with, the House of Delegates is where we all get together at AHEMA and work on big strategic items and keeping the organization going. So we want to recognize our delegates, which is Donna Caldwell Chaffin, Kay Falk, Deanna Peterson, Mary Lee Harlan Newberry, Lucy Swagger, and myself. So next, we want to talk about the awards committee because they have a very important job in selecting our group of scholarship winners that we want to give funding to help them be basically have give back to our roots per se. We need to help people grow because as you become, I feel like I'm very seasoned. Now, years ago, I used to think I was one of the newbies, and now I feel like I'm closer to retirement. So I still have a number of years to work, but I want to see another group of people come in and take my role someday because I don't want to always do this. I would like to step back and do something different. So I'm glad that we as a state provide the funding for people to help them, whether it pays for books or tuition or one of the classes. I think it's good that we give back to from our organization that we pay into, because we all started from someone mentored us, someone moved us forward in the process. So those committee members are Deanna Peterson, and she's the past president. She's the chair of that committee. And then we have the Margaret Letta and April Martin helped her in that process. So the next section that we want to talk about is the scholarship recipients. So we talk about the criteria that we use for applicants throughout the state who are, want to apply for this, and we do have certain criteria that they have to have. So the Missouri board has developed the scholarships to aid HIM students in AHEMA accredited programs in the state of Missouri, as well as current HIM professionals. So if you're, to be eligible for the undergraduate, you have to be an AHEMA or MOHEMA member. Students have to be enrolled in a KHIM accredited program, and their GPA needs to be greater than 3.0. If you're a graduate, the eligibility is the same. It's the membership to both AHEMA and MOHEMA, and then you're enrolled in a program with areas related to HIM or health informatics. So this past year, Deanna came to the board and said, we have a large amount of people interested applying for the scholarship because we are in a situation, obviously with the pandemic, maybe their employer or their finances maybe have been affected. We knew that we needed to kind of spread some of the wealth that we have as an organization. So we had a number of people that we awarded scholarships to, and I apologize, and Deanna may have to put that in the chat, or someone can let me know. I believe we had a high number of scholarships recipient, people that apply for the scholarship. And so that's why we went back and looked at the finances and things. So, but I want to go ahead and provide the list of those people for you. So if you're here on the call, we appreciate you and glad that we were able to provide this to you. And we hope that it helps you in your need of whatever you're needing to use it for, to pay the tuition or the books or the credentials. So for the $300 scholarships, the undergraduates are Whitney Caldwell, Virginia Crawley Sims, Sarah Kubik, Ashley Foster Junkferman, Sylvia DeRork, Sarah McDonald, Shamika Norflit, Heather Sadler, Nancy Velder, Kimberly West, and Hannah Williams. And so we congratulate those winners for their hard work and moving forward with their education. And we appreciate you, and we hope to see you in the workforce. So for the $500 scholarship winner, we had one, and that was Christina Houston, and I think I see her in the chat. So I don't see very many people, but I see her and Brenda. And so we thank you for your hard work and everything you're doing to give back to the profession. And so, and if any of us can help anyone, I'm sure that anyone on the board can help when needed. So, and so the other part of the duties of the awards and scholarships committee is not only the scholarships for the students, is also the award recipients for the actual professionals that are in the work field, and some various awards that we've given for a number of years to recognize people that are, they could be cutting edge, they could be giving back to their profession, their regional, their state association, whatever they're doing at the national level. We feel like they kind of stand out and we want to recognize them. So this year, we are giving 2 awards away. And so the first award that we're giving away is the Outstanding Volunteer. And this award recognizes an individual that has devoted extraordinary time to the HIM profession through volunteering at the state or local levels in Missouri. They have more than 5 years in the HIM field. They're an active participant in local HIM association through committees or office holder. Active participation in MOHEMA in a variety of roles, and more than 3 years of consecutive services participation in items noted above. And so this year's recipient of the Outstanding Volunteer is Veronica Richardson. She's the Director of Compliance and Risk Management for Preferred Family Healthcare, and currently is on our board as Director of Public Relations. So she's done a fantastic job this past 2 years working with the board, and then also at the Ozark Area Association, helping them get their education that they need. And then she's really done a great job of moving our social media to a different platform, of getting more awareness out there. So we wanted to recognize her for that honor. The next award that we want to give is given to, it's Missouri's highest honor award that we give to individuals that have provided a number of contributions to the HIM field over the past many years. It requires someone that has 10 plus years in the field, someone that has provided various management positions in the field, participation in both MOHEMA and or AHEMA committees, has been a trainer or speaker at one of the or more of the MOHEMA events, and also contributed articles for Mohima and Ahima. So this is our highest award that we give out. And it's my honor to give this to Brenda Fuller. She is currently the Vice President of HIM and Support Services with Compass Health Network, and she previously was on the Mohima board and finished her term as past president last July. Seems like not very long ago. So she's very deserving of the award. She's given a lot of contributions both to Mohima and also the regional Ozark area region. And so we're pleased to be able to give this to you, Brenda. All right. Anne, are we doing okay on time?
I think we're doing good.
Okay. All right. So the next item that I wanted to talk about was the numbers. So we want to talk about the social media, the growth that we've had, and we have a new category, so that's why it looks so low. We looked at comparing the numbers. If you look at the comparison numbers, they're July to July and then to March, but we had our meeting last year in September because of the pandemic. You know, we moved it from, normally we have it in April, and so we did it later in the year because we were still trying to figure out where we were going with the process and having the meeting later in the year or whatnot. But we decided to go ahead and present the numbers more current to the current month. So for the LinkedIn, we definitely have seen growth, obviously from the previous year. And then for Twitter, we've kind of stayed not too far off where we were, but still better than we were previously in less than 2 years. So, and then Facebook, we're still climbing up a little bit, but we've added this year was the YouTube. We added that because if you remember, we earlier this past year, we started doing our Veronica Richardson had put together our platform to be able to do what's called Tune In Tuesdays, so that we can have members recognized in the state of what they're doing, where they came from, you know, as far as how they started their career or whatnot. It's a way to get membership to understand that even though we're in different work, we could be in different work and settings, we all have different maybe passions for different areas. Like some people may really love privacy. I don't. I like coding. So there's a lot of, we all are valued in different ways and we all have our strengths and weaknesses and whatnot. But I feel like that was a good place for people to showcase what they're doing. And then we decided, well, we need to do something different and add YouTube. And I'm sure if she had enough time, she would add some other social media in that piece. But we know that we want to continue to grow and people understand who we are in as many platforms as we need, because everyone is learning at different paces. Our younger people may like different platforms than what traditionally we might use. So we have to kind of think outside the box and find ways to get to all membership. So appreciate all the work she did there. Our membership numbers, I ran back, we were able to keep it kind of consistent with the January theme. Obviously, we went down from 19 to 20, and even though COVID had just started around, you know, we started seeing it really more in March, we've noticed a trend of people not renewing their membership, maybe because their employer wasn't no longer paying for it, or they're in a place, maybe in a job that they're switching, that maybe they don't see the value. I mean, if people have to pay for the membership out of their own pocket, then other priorities may come in play, whether or not they renew it, or maybe they don't only see you only or something. So we did not go up that much. What did we go up? 10, 15? I guess, yeah. So we didn't go up too much, but I suspect that in the next year, as the pandemic, the vaccine, things are rolled out, we start trying to get to our new normal, that we'll see a growth in the membership change. Will it be back to where we were in 19? I'm not sure. Maybe there's some things as an organization that we can do to attract, and we are on that path. I don't want to get ahead of myself in one of the slides, but we are on the path of trying to get more people to recognize that being a member of an organization is very important. It's very, the decisions they make as an organization are important to our credentials that we're holding with them. So we're trying to find ways to increase that. So even if we could get it to 1850, that would be an increase over the next year. But we want to grow our membership because that keeps us stable in the state, the overall AHIMA membership, as far as what kind of membership we have in the state, how many delegates we can have represent the state. I mean, it's very important that we keep that number obtainable and high. So that will be something we definitely need to work on to keep focusing on. So we've got some ideas. This part I don't want to report, but you have to realize that not only did hospitals lose money and other industry lose money with the pandemic, we as a result of that also had to take losses and things, because we, one of our biggest revenue generators is to give back to the organization and keep it solid is our annual meeting. Although, we need to give our members the education that they need, we have to pay for it, and we need to make some money off of it so that we can continually have meetings and not being upside down. So even if we just make what we need to make to keep flourishing as an organization is very important for us. So we budgeted to lose this past year around 27,000. We're currently at a loss of 34,000. However, we have not had our meeting this year, and we will generate some revenue from our virtual meeting to offset some of the loss that we have. So maybe we'll be closer to where we need to be. But we have been very responsible on the board to not overspend money. So we haven't had a face-to-face meeting, even though there are times you think we can do a face-to-face meeting and protect ourselves. I mean, in our organizations, we're having more face-to-face meetings than we did a year ago. But we're still wearing masking and everything. So, I mean, we've been really good about doing everything electronically, using the Basecamp that we have, using WebEx, and getting together and still moving forward with what we need to. But there are times you think, oh my gosh, we need a meeting face to face because we're not on. You just lose the autonomy of ideas and things sometimes when everyone's trying to talk over amongst each other. So, but we're, again, back to the finances. We know we are still solid as an organization. Although we've lost money, we had to pay to not have the meeting in St. Charles. We had to pay money to get out of it, but we knew that if we did not take a loss when given the opportunity to pull out of that contract sooner, we would have lost even more money. It was at the tune of almost $70,000 we would have taken a loss on, and we did not want that. So we took a much smaller loss than that, and we also want to continue to have a good relationship with that convention center that we've used many times. So we booked our next meeting there, I believe it's in 2024. And so they helped, kind of meet us in the middle with the financial part of it to not have us have such a burden. So again, we're not where we wanted to be last year. I think we lost $110 the whole year. kudos to Deanna. It was a good year for her. But we know going into this year that I would sustain a loss. And so, like I said, we will find ways to minimize that. And we're going to come out strong in the year ahead because we know that when we get to have our first face-to-face meeting, we're going to pack the seats as much as we can because people are going to be wanting and ready to get back to that type of education. It's very hard to do it virtually all the time. Veronica will be proud for me to say that, even though I've been a big proponent of the Zooms and things. I do know that having our face-to-face meeting, we lose a lot of the interaction, the sharing and things like that when you're able to talk to people about what they're doing. So again, I think 2022, we're going to be all thankful that we can have a meeting, praying that that's still the case, that we can still have a meeting face to face. But next year, we're going to have a joint meeting and it's going to be really good. So, all right. So a little bit of moving forward a little bit, I'm going to talk about our mission and vision statement for Missouri. So our mission is empowering people to impact health in Missouri, and our vision is a state where trusted information transforms health and healthcare by connecting people, systems, and ideas. Now, our vision, mission, and vision are very much tied to AHIMA, and so that's where it comes from. I've had people ask, "Did y'all come up with that?" I'm like, "No, but the more that you read it over and over and over, it does make, when you first glance at it, you're like, okay." And it's more the vision. The vision at first seems different. And then the more you read into it, I'm like, yes, this is what we do. So thinking about Patient Portal and how much that's changed our world and the world that we live in, the pandemic, and getting people more connected to wireless, not keeping them at home face to face, but still giving them the needs that they need to do, apps to go to basically make appointments and things. Some things we've come a long way in a very short amount of time due to the pandemic, and maybe that's what it happened for, was to change our way of thinking. I don't know. So, but that's our mission and vision. I wanted to go over that. The next thing that I'd like to do is just talk briefly about our 2020-2021 year in review, which is our strategic plan that we've had in place. And we've had this same kind of strategic plan in place for a number of years. But what happens is we tweak some of the ideas of maybe what we did 3 years ago, we can't do today, or next year could be different. What's the plan? What have we noticed this past year that we didn't get to get done that we want to carry over? And what is it we did really well and we're like, okay, we're sticking with it. We're going to keep this, but we're maybe going to change some things. So this past year, these are our main areas that we focus on, which is the association management, the bylaws and the board, the documents that we have to pertain to keep the organization solid. Obviously, we want to give awards and scholarships to recognize people throughout our state. We have to provide our membership education, or they could get the education from another source that may be not true to our organization. So we definitely want our members to get quality education, and also for what they're working with. Communication is very key, especially with everything we went through the past year. Being able to communicate with people and not feel like you're alone in a silo. And then also, one of the areas that we've really spent a lot of time in the last couple of years revamping is our advocacy. So I'm going to briefly talk about a couple of the items. So for the engagement, the association management, as far as engagement with the regional associations, we have continued to provide support to our regional associations. We actually have them participate on our board calls to provide what's going on in their region. The regions are funded on their own. We do provide funding to help them, but we really are not there to per se manage them. But the relationship is very important that we have with the regions because that's where our members live. So we wanted to make sure that we, include them because we want to be actively participating in what are you guys doing in Eastern? What are you doing in Kansas City? What are you doing in Pony? What's going on in Ozark? What's the pulse in Mid-Missouri? What are things that you need our help with that maybe, we're not funding it financially, but we're going to give you, hey, we don't have overlapping meetings, we don't want to take away from the training you're doing, but maybe we could do this together to collaborate. So I feel like there's a great, and I'm hoping that the regions feel this way, but I feel like there's a great relationship between the regions and the state as far as the support from both ends. And so trying to make both successful, not just one. The other thing that we've done this past year is I talked a little bit about this earlier. We need to get our membership numbers up. And so one of the things we stepped back and looked at is we had a program in place for the credential in place to basically, if someone takes the RHIA, RHIT, we pay for a certain amount of money to reimburse for someone doing that. Well, we stepped back and said, we need to do something different. We've been doing that for a number of years. We need to get our members engaged at AHEMA and us, not just AHEMA, but us. If you join AHEMA, you're us too. And so we decided, instead of paying that credential fund, and I know we've had a few months of lap over where we had to go ahead and pay what we normally would pay, but we want to move forward with, we got to get people to become a member of AHEMA and get invested at the very beginning of their time when they're getting their credentials or whatever. We got to get them early because everything happens later. If you're young, you're not married, you don't have kids, and then you start having all that happen and finances change and things. So we need to get people to understand the first year and understand the importance of being a member and what it all ties back to when you're growing with your profession. So we changed that process. The other thing that we knew that we needed to do as far as under the retention and the recruitment is we have a good relationship with the school programs in our state, but we need to strengthen that. We need the state to be more, both the MOHEMA board and the schools to work together to figure out, what happens, what do we need to do to get these, the workforce prepared, the people that are going to school to get prepared. How do we get them involved? I mean, there's a number of things that we can do to network together as school programs, not to take away from each other. So what we did was we created a educators council that after like 2 meetings, it was like, wait, we need to expand this. So we appointed someone to lead it, and she came back and said, I think we need to have this meeting we need to grow this. So why don't we have Kansas and Missouri work together, not just have a Missouri council. Let's have a bi-state education council that gets together, that works together as a common goal to advance people in our profession. Doesn't take away from one state or the other, but let's work together, put the masses together. So Kay Falk leads that, and her vision that she came up with has been wonderful. I know that the first meeting we had, the people that were on the educators that were there, they're like, this is awesome. We needed this. We need to get more awareness of and understand what's going on, and the state can provide what we're doing, and what tools do they need to help with recruitment of getting new students? What can the state do to do that? So we're working together to build our organization and build our workforce and keep our workforce strong. So I'm going to skip the bylaws part because that's kind of standard thing that we do. The awards and scholarships, we will continue to support our schools and the professional members in our area as much as we can financially. That's why we increased that this year. This next piece under the education, even with the pandemic, we still have an obligation to provide HIM education to our members, and there's for them to get CEUs. I mean, we cannot just stand back and say, oh, well, the pandemic's we can't have a face-to-face meeting, so we can't do anything. We have to still provide CEUs, whether we meet face-to-face or not. We have to keep our people educated. If we don't, then our profession is going to be taken over by someone else that will educate their people. So we don't want that. We're still the leaders in coding and HIM and privacy and all that. We still want to have that. So this year, the meeting that starts April 19th is our second virtual meeting, annual meeting. And although it's sad because we don't want to continue to do this, we still have to provide our membership with the training that they need. So as far as the next, I got 2 more bullets, and I'm going to hand it over to Mary Lee for her to talk about what she's going to do. But then the next item is the communication. So, you know, with COVID, it's brought so many challenges to us. And that's where we looked at it and go, well, if we're going to have to be in an environment where we can't physically be together, what can we do with social media? And what other things can we do to get our members engaged to know what's going on? We already know we got to provide education for them, but we got to get the news out. We got to get why we're important in this, or why there's an importance of having the right people in this field. So we decided to make changes with our social media, and Veronica did that, worked very hard on putting together the Tune In Tuesdays, like I mentioned earlier, to get people recognized about where they were with their career path, where they've been, and why they love what they do. So I feel like that is a start of a new graduate that doesn't know what they want to do, or they may be scared to go into something. They can see where people started. Because sometimes I have people where I work, they're like, have you been a director your whole career? I'm like, no. I mean, I didn't start out doing this. Some days I don't want to do it. But I mean, there's just, you got to have, they get to connect with you in a different way when they watch those videos. So I felt that was a very good thing for us to put in place. We need to expand on it. I know we want to keep it going, but and I know we probably have plans to do that. So if any of you want to participate in that, I know Veronica will gladly take you on as a on that project. You could just message her privately, and she will, I'm sure, get right back in touch with you. The biggest, I think my biggest slide that I've got coming up is the advocacy. Like I said, for the past several years, we have tried and realized that we have got to be more involved, get our state representatives involved, and get our state to get in the forefront of things when we see them as challenges or complete changes that are going to happen that could affect our profession. So we appointed an advocacy director, which is Kelly Fast, and she works with the board and several members to get the awareness of what we're doing. We do have a Hill Day coming up, April 27th. I think I saw something in a chat. You might check the chat. I think I saw Kelly post something. And if you're wanting to get involved with that, I am pretty sure she would gladly take your assistance and involvement in some capacity. So, but that'll be April 27th, and that is a Tuesday. Yep. The week after our convention. So I'm going to, I'm going to pass it over to Mary Lee so that she can talk. And if Mary Lee, you want me to advance the slides, I can.
Hold tight here. Let me just see if Mary Lee, you're not unmuted. So let me make sure. Can you unmute your line? Okay, let's try this again. Mary Lee, were you able to unmute your line?
All right, can you hear me?
Sure can. Wonderful.
Can everyone hear me? Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you, Clark, and a big thank you to everyone. Clark, for your calm leadership during a COVID year. How can anyone be calmer? Also, thank you for your mentorship. It's been a pleasure, and I'm learning still from you, so definitely stay by my side, because I'll probably have lots of questions, but I do appreciate your leadership. And thank you for your continued backbone in your organization. What would we do without you? I could go on and on about Ann and Clark. And then thank you to all the board members, those that were not always on the call, those that are on the call today, that are here, that are listening, those that were quietly on committees, quiet or not, because many of us had a voice. We were out there trying to keep active during a year of pandemic and trying to keep education going. So that's where I'm going to start with this. Thank you to all of the board for a great year. It was successful, even during a pandemic. How can you say that we were not successful? We kept going. I am honored to be serving as the upcoming president for Missouri Health Information Management Association Board. And I'm looking forward to serving the year of starting in July of 2021 and then going forward to 2022. During the past year, we have seen our board and the entire membership strive to continue pushing forward and working to be evolving in a situation that was definitely not anyone's plan. COVID-19 took over. It tried to change our lives. It did change our lives. It changed our way of thinking. And how do you continue education when we're working from home? We're working from our living room, our bedroom, our basement. And most importantly, we continue to strive to keep our education going and to keep our name and our profession out there. Very important that we stay active and strong and positive. All of us were impacted. This was very unexpected, but also it changed our way of thinking. Kudos to those that had a strong input and organization into our virtual learning. I cannot say enough about that. I was very active and participated in many of the educations that were offered out there in forms of conferences, webinars, and even the call-ins that we had on the Missouri HIM site. It's very important that these new opportunities continue, because some of us can't get in the car. We can't leave for a whole day like we used to, because our employers are not really paying for the full day or 3 days to be away. They really want us to do the work of 3 to 5 people. I don't know if you've noticed that, but I have seen that in the last probably 2 or 3 years, that we are juggling many duties, and what we once knew as a one-person role, we're now carrying the torch for more than one role at this time. Some of the goals that I see us continuing the legacy of virtual learning sessions. I cannot say enough. It was growth. It was helpful. Many members got their CEUs, and they could stay strong in the membership, keep their CEUs, and still keep their jobs, most important during this time frame. I challenge each of you to expand your expertise and your knowledge, seeking out new opportunities, which maybe are unknown to you, maybe are scary, and also those opportunities that are available that we once thought were not the normal opportunity for HIM. I also ask that you consider being a volunteer, a mentor, joining committees, which all of you on this call today have been in some shape or form one of those roles, and learning somehow to strive to get our membership out there to do the same. Expanding educational roles is going to be very important. Some of the visions and the most important visions that I see for our board and for our membership, I can continue to see the members reaching out to new opportunities and growth. I see many of our peers seeking career survival. That's what I tell a lot of people. What have you been doing for the last few years? Career survival and new opportunities to work in a field that is non-typical for HIM. Some of the non-typical areas: education, marketing, privacy, working as a vendor, and social media. How many have been out there on social media or joined all the areas of social media that Clark mentioned? I can tell you that we are very active out there, and I'm proud of everyone. Thank you, Veronica. You've made us stand out, so I appreciate that. Some of the areas that are typical, or maybe we're seeing more HIM membership going to the new fields, are the CDI, the data analytics, the coding analysis and auditing, quality, CQI, safety, healthcare compliance, compliance regulations. How many of you love to work with the federal, the state, and Joint Commission, and you just I know you just can't wait to go to those surveys. That's something that's important. We have to have our name out there, and we have to be present. Being a scanning analyst, coding, custodian of records, all of these are important. It used to be that we only heard of maybe 3 or 4 of these roles, and we're changing. Things are ever changing. So things that we took for granted, styles of HIM that we took for granted, technology is changing. So we have to change with it. We have to stay educated. We have to keep the path of education, and we have to keep going forward to strive to be better future leaders and to entice our membership and those that are students under us and students by our side to be champions, because I see all of us as champions. And even though we're going to a new direction, a new opportunity, I still feel like there's hope for HIM. It's just that it's evolving. It is my sincere hope that with your help, all of the membership on this call and all the members out there, the 1,800 that are out there that actually have a voice, that we continue to make our organization a vital force in our roles and in education, that is continued sessions, either virtual or face-to-face. I'm looking forward to seeing as many faces as I can in Branson coming up, and that's coming up April 4th through the 6th of 2022. I'm hoping that maybe we can do something that offers virtual sessions as well, maybe replays like you're seeing out there in the upcoming annual meeting, because those are excellent opportunities too for those that cannot attend face-to-face. 21 CEUs. If you haven't taken a look at the most recent annual meeting coming up, how many actually have seen 21 CEUs out there offered? That is awesome. So kudos to the board, the committee, and everyone involved. And I'm hoping that we can match that in 2022, that we can stand out and that we can make this year's board proud and maybe bring in some income to make up what we're seeing going on in the COVID year. But I am looking forward to face-to-face, seeing everyone, and looking for a healthy year for also Missouri HIMA as well as AHIMA. Stay safe, stay healthy, and hopefully we see each other soon. A big thank you for attending this business meeting today. Thank you to Clark and the board. If you have any questions, if you have anything that you want to reach out, please reach out to Clark. His number's there and on the next slide. And his email is coming up as well. And so I appreciate everyone's time. I'm staying ecstatic, even though we're still during a pandemic year. I see things improving. So thank you very much, and looking forward to the meeting coming up in 2 weeks, virtual and live, and looking forward to 2021 through 22. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Lee. And this closes our annual meeting, business meeting today. We appreciate everything that we were able to provide you. And I appreciate the Mohima Board of Directors that are here to work for you and everything they've been offered this past year and the year ahead. And don't forget to register for the meeting, like she said. There's my contact information. And if you have, I think we have 4 minutes. If anyone has a question, I can go back to the slide on how to raise your hand. But if you wanted to ask a question, you could, and we'd be glad to see what we can help you with. See if I can actually read the chats now.
And Clark, I do not see any hands that are raised, and I do not see any questions in the chat. See lots of thanks in the chat, though.
Okay. Well, then we will conclude.
Thank you so
Thank-
much, everyone.
Thank you.